Hello and welcome back to the Try Time podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Callum.
And today we're going to be discussing one player each Super League club should offload in the summer. Now, rules are this. We've each chosen a different player.
From each club, yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to try and argue our case on why we think our player should be sold.
Sold, offloaded, whether it's because...
Released, got rid of, sent to Mars, whatever.
A lot of them we have said where we'd send them or like why they might be better off there. It's not a bad thing about the player, it's just... We can't just think of transfers that could or should happen.
Some of them might be because they're not good enough.
Don't take any of it to heart. We're just discussing it really. So we're going to try and keep it nice and short, snappy for each team. So first up we've got Castleford, haven't we? So I'll let you give your case for your player for Castleford.
So the player I think Castleford should offload this summer is Grant Millington. Big call.
It's a very big call because I rate him highly. But I'll let you give your case.
He is a quality player. And yes, he's past his peak, but he's still in that first team picture. But he's 33. He's an overseas quota player, which is, very valuable.
They're valuable nowadays. I see where you're coming from.
And there are a lot better, younger props you could probably get over in Super League for not that much more cash.
Yeah.
Is it potentially damaging to the first team short term? Maybe so, but I mean, they've signed an expensive winger that they've not even put on pitch yet, so they've clearly got money to burn.
Yeah. And that does actually, your last statement ties into my one, which is James Clare. So, they have got a lot of wingers, like you've just said, they've got Fekit, and I believe that, I think James Clare is a class player, and I think that when they're all fit, I don't think that Clare will get in over Fekit or Alford, or even Eden.
I was going to say, he had to put Eden on the starting berth, but...
Eden...
You don't score nearly 40 tries a season without being a good finisher, anyway.
Yeah, well, I think Eden is... what I'm saying is James Clare is third or fourth choice there.
Fourth.
But I think he could definitely start either on upper championship, which will hear me say a lot because I've got it in my notes, upper championship, sort of different, like a good championship team, whether it's back to Lee, back to Bradford, Fev, Toulouse, any of them, or a lower Super League team to help them out. I know Wakefield have picked up Liam Kay, so it's not ideal for them, but...
Called that on the Toronto rebuild video. Go check that if you've not watched it yet.
I've even put Leeds, send him to Leeds just to maybe compete with Briscoe.
Don't send him to Leeds, I don't want him.
Alright, I think he could help a bit of competition with Briscoe brothers, but...
Don't send him to Leeds.
Then it's now up to you now, obviously, to vote on who you think.
I'm going to give my take on that quickly, which I don't know if I'm going to do for everything or not. I wanted to pick James Clare, but he'd already got him.
All right, that's fair then.
Millington, you're safe for this year, even though I think this is probably the last chance you're going to get a bit of money for him.
Yeah. Next up, Catalans, is
Catalans, it is. So I've gone for Joe Tompkins.
Pretty standard.
Roughly
newly signed.
Yeah, but not newly brilliant.
Kind
of the same thing as Millington, really. He's definitely past his prime. He wasn't great at Hull KR. He's not been great for a few years now. Yeah, just...
Where would you send him?
Anywhere that's not in Super League.
Like an upper championship team to give him a bit of experience?
Yeah, probably, but I don't think he'd take the wages, so I think he'll just have to either take a pay cut or call it a day. Really? Or try Union again. It worked so well for him last time.
As you can see, Matt just don't give a crap about... He just calls anyone whatever he wants, really, he doesn't mind. Whereas I've gone for more of a structured approach.
Well, I mean, let's face it, he's a Tompkins, and we all know what Sam Tompkins just calls random people when he's scored a try at Wembley.
Oh, right, I'm moving on to my player.
Go on.
So I've gone with a bit more under the radar, Gavin Marguerite, who you might not all know from playing for France, especially in the nines. Sort of, obviously you can see him on the screen, you probably might recognise him. Great player. I've seen him a lot for Toulouse and he was really good. Obviously, I understand why Catalans signed him, but with likes of Falau and the abundance of sort of outside backs they've got, I can't see him getting a game. He hasn't played a game yet. So maybe another lower Super League team that needs an outside back, although a lot of these are outside backs and Super League has an abundance of them, and so does the Championship really, although I could honestly see him going back to Toulouse, although I think I would like to see him in Super League. So I'm not sure exactly where I'd put him, but I think...
Send him to Toronto, where?
Staying in France probably hasn't been the most kind to him.
Fair enough.
Playing time-wise. So I think that's all.
I still think Tompkins is worse, so I'm going to back on that one.
You can back yourself, it's fine, I'm not arguing with you.
Okay, Huddersfield. This was a tough one for me. I've gone on my notes for Rhys Butterworth, although I am debating whether or not I change that on last minute.
You Rhys Butterworth.
You Rhys Butterworth. He's yet to play for him. He's 21.
He's played. I know what you're saying though. He hasn't nailed down a spot. He plays when in cups or.
Has he played a competitive league game yet?
I'm
sort of
sure
meaningful
Although I do think he's a good player. That's all I'm saying. It's not because he's a bad player, is my point. He's just...
No, I'd like to see him breaking down for the sake of his own development. I think he needs to be playing week in, week out, even if it is at a lower level.
Even though I reckon, honestly, like, what it was, he was breaking into the Bradford team, we sold him to Huddersfield, and then they loaned him to Batley. And then, like, the logic in that... He played at Batley. He did well at Batley, that's my point. But the thing is, that's the sort of thing where it's like, he's signed for them, and then he's loaned him back down.
It'd have been better staying there and having the stability, and I think he'd be a better player if he had.
Yeah, which is fair.
Make up for your mistake and go back.
Mine is Sam Wood, another Giants player who's just been dotted around all over the place on loan. He's actually started getting into the team, but he's barely played really, especially with lots of competition, especially outside backs now. There's the senior brothers who are both getting in for Huddersfield, good up-and-coming young players. He's getting on a bit now as well. So... I could see him going to sort of higher championship. I think he could nail down a position at a number of clubs like a Widnes. Even like going to somewhere like Dewsbury or Sheffield, I think it'd be good for him. But obviously that is then going to part-time. It depends. We don't know the logistics of everything.
Let's move on to Hull FC.
Hull FC then, yeah.
Right, probably no surprise here. I've gone Gareth Ellis. Very much the same theme as the other two. Gareth Ellis, you're a good player, but you've retired once. For God's sake, just... have your moment and leave.
Nah, he's been good though.
He's a quality player, but I mean, come on, he's like 2,000 years old at this point.
I know what he's saying, but
Jamie Jones knew when to bow out.
He's doing a job though, they need him.
If he goes on for another year, he's getting more and more to that point where he starts not being good enough and damages his entire career legacy.
Oh, that's fair if that's what you think.
Get someone younger in and actually develop your squad.
Mine is Liam Harris, who is not going to be the first name on people's minds when you think of FC.
You've proper wussed out on so many of these.
Well, they signed him from Doncaster as sort of like a backup, and he's now basically fourth choice halfback, which I know you play too, so it's not necessarily bad, and he's a good backup to have, but I think he's getting on a bit now, deserves to start somewhere, and I honestly think a team like Halifax, who he actually had gone on loan to before lockdown, or a Widnes type team, I think he's good for him.
This video was meant to stir up controversy, but he's completely ruined it already.
I'm not good, like, end of the day, you think players are bad, but that's subjective. I might not think they're bad. I think player, if you made it to that level, you have to be good enough.
Okay, you can need to offload players for reasons other than they are bad. But anyway,
that's what I'm giving. Right, next team, OKR. Go on, who've you got?
Harvey Levert.
Alright, go on. Speak to me.
Stop playing well against Leeds and go sign for somewhere that's not in the Super League.
Just because he plays well against Leeds.
Yes, it's the only club he plays well against. And to be honest, I looked at that OKR squad and thought, well, there's no one here that stands out that desperately needs to move.
See,
at least with Hull, you've got Ellis, who's had more comebacks than bloody Share.
Right, OKR, I've gone Jamie Ellis. And this is because they have a load of halves. And I'm talking...
Okay, this is quite a fair shout, actually.
They have got Brierley, Abdul, Keys, and Milnes, who's on loan as well as Ellis in the halves.
But Ellis is probably in the first team out of those.
Ellis, this season, Abdul, Brierley, and Keys have been the three playing. Whether that's Ellis, Knox, or Ellis hasn't really been getting in. And I think I've put on here as well, you might say, why not Keys? I think Keys deserves his Super League chance, and I think he's played well when he has played. I think he deserves the move. He could go to a good team that needs an experienced staff, maybe like I don't know, I thought maybe Salford. I know they have got, Kevin Brown, but like it gives a bit more competition where I think he'll actually get more games.
Yeah, you've got overrated average player for an overrated bang average player, so that's kind of a good swap, really.
Or a Fax or Widnes type team would be the other type team. I've actually sent them teams I think like you could improve, and some players maybe need to drop down at Championship to shine. Take a team up to Super League, and then you'll be starting one.
You know what? I think we'll give that one to Jamie Ellis because that's a more convincing argument.
Cheers,
and I'm fed up of watching the next score.
Cheers. I'll take that.
Right. Speaking of Leeds, I've gone for Liam Sutcliffe.
Yeah, go on. I think I know what you're going to say, yeah.
Yeah. This comes back to what I was saying about needing to get rid of a player, not because he's bad, but he is not in the starting 17 anymore, and he has not nailed down a position since debuting in, I believe, 2012.
Yeah, he's not sort of solidified himself and played a full season in one position.
If he was going to settle into a spot, he'd have done it by now. And I think it's not just it's holding him back at this point as well. There's reports he's requested a transfer through to Castleford, which, given their record of turning former Leeds players into superstars, then that could be a great move for him.
Definitely.
And I wouldn't begrudge him it.
Yeah, I think he deserves. I think what you're saying here, I actually understand your argument. It's more like he deserves another opportunity where he needs to just change
he won
the
us the
scenery.
Super League in 2017.
All right,
Because he scored the winning try in the semi-final, and it was a fantastic effort.
Yeah, he's a quality player.
If he could do that week in, week out, actually in a set spot on the team sheet, he'd be so much better because he could prepare for being a centre or a half or fullback or whatever, rather than having to just train everywhere and see where McDermott wants to wheel him out.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, definitely. Mine is Richie Myler, and I think again it's similar to you. He's just the sort of signed Gale, and he's not going to be starting, even though he's covering at fullback at the minute. He's underutilised. He'd be good at I'll put pro championship because I don't think he'll drop down.
We'll just ignore the fact Myler has played in every game this season, be it as the hooker in Cruz Leeming's absence or fullback in Jack Walker's or...
Yeah, and Sutcliffe has as well. I am saying he's underutilised because if every player's fit, he ain't getting in that team, and I think
he is. He's getting on the bench.
I can't see it when you've got Dwyer and Leeming. Personally, I can't see it. I think he'd be good at like a London team who are wanting to get back up there. I know they have got Morgan Smith and Corey Aston as well as Meadows, I think, who's like their backup. But I just think he could do it solid there. I know he was supposed to sign for Toronto. I can see why they wanted him. And I can see him honestly still leaving, even if it... Honestly, send him somewhere like Toulouse.
I think he's still... If they've got... I mean, this was a tough one. I thought about Myler, but I thought, no, he's a better player than Sutcliffe. And if you said you have to keep one of them, I'd keep Myler any day of the week.
That's fair.
I mean, Sutcliffe's biggest crime is not even his own fault. It was the coach dropping Sinfield for him back when he made his debut.
Yeah.
That instantly got him off on the bad foot, I think.
With the fact, yeah, I know what you're saying.
And that's not his fault at all.
All right, you give me that last one. I'll give you Sutcliffe on this one. I get what you're saying.
Thank you.
I'll give you that.
I also did think about Ward because, why pay someone to just sit on a medical bench? But I thought that was a bit of a harsh reason.
Yeah,
but it's true.
It's out of his control.
Salford. Now, I'm going to argue this one here. I might be trying to flog a dead horse, but Mark Flanagan.
He's a good player. He's solid. Does a solid for him.
He's 32. He is not far from the player that was in the St Helens Grand Final
back in the
day. Yeah. For me, I don't know. I don't think he's going to be that cheap either. That's the problem, I think. You look at what he's likely going to cost Salford. I don't think they're getting value for money. I think there are better players in that position they could pick up for less from a championship club.
Yeah, or even...
And given how cash-strapped Salford always seem to be, despite somehow being able to afford good players, but...
That's why they're cash-strapped?
Yeah, probably. I just think that's an easy way to cut your salary cap down a bit. You won't lose out on any talent, and he's still a decent player, and if you can afford to keep him as well, sure, but I won't panic.
He's an added luxury,
yeah.
And mine is, again, going a bit more underground, I'll say, Ed Chamberlain. So I think I've seen him play. He's been on loan. He played for Bradford. I think he's a really underrated player. He's played 15 games in 2 years for Salford, which just isn't...
Any injuries there?
No. He's just sort of in and out of selection when like at the minute you're looking at Kia, Sargentson, Inu, CO, and there's
you had Bibby last year as well.
Yeah.
We've got Joe Burgess reportedly next year.
I just feel like he needs a change. I think he needs to go up at mid to upper championship. I'd take him at Bradford in a heartbeat. Maybe back to Widnes or even like a Lee Fax type team. There's not much to say. I just think he needs to be playing regularly. Even if it's like a London team, I've seen people like a Godo who've been in a similar position to him. They play second fiddle in Super League. Go to Championship and own it, man. Just go. I know, obviously, there's all the logistics, but looking at it from a pure playing standpoint, a player that deserves to be starting somewhere.
You're thinking from the player, I'm thinking from the club then.
Yeah, definitely. Because
Okay.
for Salford is a cheap option.
I'll let the comments section decide that one. St Helens.
Yours is just completely outlandish here.
I'm going to back it up.
Go on.
I think this is the most that Saints are ever going to get for letting Tommy Makinson go to the NRL. And I think this is the year the money becomes too good to turn down.
Really? Do you think they'd sell him? Do you think he'd want to go? I mean, that's an old separate conversation.
I mean, yeah. This is a player being good enough to make the next step. And the club getting an offer appropriate. We've not factored in whether or not he would want to make the move.
Yeah, that's a whole separate thing.
Do I think Saints could replace him? Yes. I think there are plenty of wingers out there that they could get in if they haven't got someone just in the academy ready to slot in because it's St Helens they normally do.
Yeah.
The coped well the last couple of years when he's had spells on the sidelines with injury.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to be crippled to bottom 4 at league just for getting rid of him.
Oh.
I mean, you look how close Regan Grace ran him last year for top try scorer.
And they play for the same team, so it shows the strength there.
To me, that's the system rather than the players at this point.
I mean, Tommy Makinson is a quality player because he's
a fantastic player.
He's best winger England have got at the minute.
Yeah.
Hands down.
I'd agree with that. And I think now's the right time to go try the NRL.
What do you think?
Take the money and go.
Swap deal, Herbie Farnworth from Brisbane, English player coming up.
Yeah.
For Makinson in a swap.
You'd have to throw some good cash in that.
But I think Saints would take that because it's a good young player wanting to prove himself who's English.
Bit of money and a good young English player. Yeah, I think Saints would take that, and I think that'd be a good deal. But again, I'm not sure what their academy's like.
We don't know. Yeah.
They might have Regan Jr. ready to just come in, in which case they'll be like, no, we want someone even better who's good in that Brisbane team. Damn, that's a good question.
Right, I'm going on to mine, which is James Bentley, and I think he's a great player. Obviously, another ex-Bradford player, great player.
Interesting.
I think he has played a decent bit, but I think when everyone is fit, he doesn't play, and I know he's a good backup, but I honestly thought when he left Bradford he'll be starting soon, and I think he deserves it. He's been playing out of position. I think he could start. He could walk, I believe, into a Salford, Wakey, Hull KR, even a Catalan, Huddersfield type team.
No, the last two are a bit much, but where do you see his best position?
He's a second rower, out and out second rower.
You see, that's good. I'm glad you didn't say hooker based.
He's a second rower. He only ever played for Bradford in second row or centre, which most second rowers can do centre as well if needed.
I don't think he gets in the Catalan pack. But I mean, this is completely irrelevant to the video, so I will let you carry on.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying, but you get what I mean about how there's worse second rowers starting in other Super League teams, but then you'd have to drop down from a title contender to maybe a relegation battler.
I don't think they do. Considering that he's getting games, even if it is at hooker,
yeah,
which is not his best position, it's about that mental state of him knowing that he has a place in this future St Helens squad at this stage.
Yeah, but he's still like...
He's not old.
Yeah, but he's not 21 anymore. He's about 23.
Yeah, I'm going to say it was the year above me at the same school. He's 22, 23.
Yeah.
So that's nothing at Super League level.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
And I think they're both players that St Helens fans would say keep them both.
They'd want to keep them both. Saints is a tough one they have got.
I honestly think if you said take a hell of a lot of money for Makinson and get someone just, can also get 20 tries a season on the wing, or lose your young prospect backup that covers second row and hooker, I honestly think I've got a chance of winning that one, even though it is Makinson.
Right, fair enough. We'll let the fans decide. Now, who's next then? Go on.
Who's next? Trinity. Max Jowett.
Go on. I feel like we don't need to speak too much on this.
There were a couple of names, to be honest. I did also think Jacob Miller.
Yeah, but you just...
gone for him.
No,
you haven't. But for me, Jowett is... He's not old. That's the thing. He's still 23, but he's not... James Bentley's good for 22, 23. For me, Jowett is
He hasn't broken
average.
yet.
I think there's a reason he's behind the likes of Ryan Hampshire, even as a cover player.
Yeah.
He ain't going to dislodge Miller and Prof.
Even Alex Walker.
I was going to say, he's worse than Alex Walker as a fullback, in my opinion. There is a place for him in professional rugby league, but I'm not sure it's Wakefield. And at this stage of his career, I think it's Pro Championship.
That's fair. So mine is Joe Arundel. Again, rarely plays. He's been put on loan a lot. I just reckon just send him to like a witness facts. I think he'll just. There's not much to say. I just think he's underutilised, and they've got a lot of good centres up. Like you got Tupu, you got Atkins. There's like Reece Lane. They're all ahead of him.
Wakefield was a tricky one because I had a few players in mind.
They've got a lot.
I considered Atkins. That I thought I don't think's worth. I even considered saying they should axe Arona.
I think Arona's alright.
But yeah,
I don't think there's much to say on Wakefield.
I think they're all pretty self-explanatory.
Right, who's next?
Warrington. Jake Mamo.
Go on. 30 seconds. Give me it.
Underutilised, even more so than Milo. We saw what he could do at Huddersfield, even though he had, I don't know, bones made of chocolate. Honestly, I've never seen a player spend so much time injured, but then come back like a bullet every single time.
Then come back quality, yeah.
I think he's not really had the same injury problems at Warrington either.
No, he's just been sort of a backup utility back, hasn't he, really?
Yeah, and, you're not going to shift Ratchford.
With
he
Austin,
can play
you're
on
not moving.
wing or in ours, but I don't think you're getting the best out of him there.
No, and that's where he's been covering, hasn't he?
And, I don't think it's much to try... he went to Huddersfield when they weren't a title contender. I think he'd take a starting spot at a mid-card team again.
Huddersfield, Ian.
Hull FC might not be a bad shout.
Potentially. Shaw, though.
I think you could interchange them quite easily.
Fair play.
And I think Shaw is a player that I think you'd be able to get put somewhere else for good money.
Maybe. Right, I've gone with Lewis Johnson, who spent a lot of time last season on loan at OKR. I think
another young kid.
No, he's not that young really anymore. Like
It's about Bentley's age, isn't it?
Yeah, about that. But Curry's just signed a new deal, so he's not breaking into starting anytime soon because Curry and Hughes is arguably the best second row partnership in the league.
Curry's got a lot of interest. It could just be a price hiking, solidifying deal like Dayan Lovren.
So there's a lot of competition. He's similar to the Levette left for OKR, and I think a similar thing could happen here. Not necessarily at OKR, although it could be. Or it's like a Wakefield or a Salford.
You can go to OKR, he didn't score against us.
There's not much to say really. I think we go on to Wigan.
Okay. Now, Wigan was a tough one. Now, I wanted to say Zach Hardacre for reasons that are all very public, but he's definitely not a bad player and he's definitely more than good enough to be starting for Wigan. So I've decided that I'm not going to use anti-Leeds bias and go for somebody that I actually think should leave Wigan. And I've punted on Roman Navarrete. A massive French forward, and I have never seen someone get so little for so many pounds. I've talked a lot in this video about how a lot of these players are not being moved on because they are not necessarily good enough. No, this one is. This can be as controversial as it wants to be. Roman Navarrete is not quality enough for a Wigan side that have genuine title aspirations. He's worse going forward than Frank Paul Nuasala, and that is saying something.
Oh dear.
And the thing is, he's even heavier.
Oh, right, I'm going on to mine now. I'm not even giving you the chance to slew him anymore, poor guy. Right, I've got Jake Shorrocks, who you might say, you've gone for another young cop-out.
That's exactly what I'm going to say.
He's 24 years old.
Jesus Christ, is he that old already?
He's been... And this is... Your reaction justifies why he should... Why? Because you didn't realise he was that old, and he's still trying to break into the team.
Right, okay, both these players are not... Wigan, we're getting you off this
and
one.
There's lots of half-backs ahead of him, even... Harry Smith's playing ahead of him and he's only 20 years old and he's getting in there ahead of him. And obviously you've still got like your French and your Hastings, Lulawai, Powell, all that.
But I thought Bevan French for a winger.
That's an old school callback, is that now, isn't it? So I think a Fax, Widnes, Sheffield are like good fits for him.
Just taking at Bradford.
As a backup for Brough or Lily, yeah.
So not really, that says a lot.
Would you have him starting for your team over Brough or Lily?
Would I chuff?
No. There you go then. Right, I think we'll wrap this up now. You will need to let us know below what you think of our picks. Who's won? So out of 11, one of us has got to have won, whether it's 5, 6 or it could be
I've already lost one from Harvey Levette, so...
Yeah, but see what... put it down below who you think won, give it a point score, and we'll gather everyone up and we might comment on it in a future video. Also, leave any suggestions for these type of videos. We've got a load sort of backlogged in his minds that we're going to do.
This has gone on longer than expected, so it will wrap.
This is nearly as long as Wednesday's pod, which you can also check out.
And check out next Wednesday's pod, where we review round 1 of the Super League, and he's the only one that's going to have watched a game.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, we're left with him being the expert.
Yeah. So make sure you're subscribing, liking, and we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.